Hello everyone, Sally Wolf here. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Congratulations for showing up for your book, to take some time to take the next step, to deepen your foundation and get more connected with what your book is really about. Today our topic is Write from Your Core. I am going to take a couple moments. I know some of you already know my background, but this is sort of required, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I started out in business, and I was a copywriter, and I worked in Silicon Valley for quite a number of years, and I learned a lot about writing. I learned a lot about marketing, and it was a really fun and it was lucrative work, but it was not soul work for me. And I wanted to write a book, and I had always wanted to write a book, which I did. And that moved me into my new career, which is now I am a book coach and a book editor. It started out really once I got an agent. I started doing work for her on her manuscripts. I started looking and doing work for people in my writing group, and I realized that my passion was not only to write, but to help other authors create their books. And I found my sweet spot, and today I've been doing that now for about 7 years, and also working as a manuscript editor for Narrative Magazine. So here are a few of the titles that I have brought to market. There are a couple new ones in here that I haven't had a chance to upload. And I just mentioned a couple authors. I work with authors who write fiction and nonfiction. Ann Tardy has a company, a mentoring company that she hires out to help corporations and small business create mentoring programs. And she wanted to write a book. She did not have any experience. She was a great speaker, but she wanted to get on the speaker circuit with her book. And we started out with basically just showing her how to, that's kind of where my process began to develop. How do you work with people who aren't writers, who are trying to put together material? And that's where I began to develop the book manifesto process. Her book, Mentoring Matters, has put her on the conference circuit, and put her in front of a lot of people that she would not normally be able to speak with, or she would not have access to. Kimberly is an educational consultant. She had a terror of writing. She really did not believe she could write, and she took my ebook course, and what worked for her, and again this is all part of my own learning, was that she needed to separate out the processes of writing from the process of strategizing, developing your content, planning. What is your book really about? Creating a framework so you know what your content is. This is a different process from the actual process of writing. And once she had her content, once she understood, oh yeah, my book is about this and this is my structure, she had no problem sitting down, putting pen to paper and writing, because she had done this preparation, and she wasn't trying to do two things at once, to think up what she was going to write and also to write it. So this made a big difference for her, and this really helped her business quite a bit. I work with fiction writers also, and these are two recent fiction writers. Stacey Wakefield had her book announcement last year. Elizabeth McKenzie, who you might have heard in the news lately, she was just reviewed on NPR. She had an outstanding New York Times review. She is a writer of The Portable Veblen, and we worked together on that for a couple of years ago, and now I think it's pretty much going to break through to the bestseller list, so I'm very excited about that. So today, may the flow be with you. Don't you just love Yoda? This is the epitome of where you want to go. And this is where you don't want to go. Troll consciousness. But we all have to deal with fear and whatever blocks keep us from moving into flow. So let's just talk about that a little bit. What is the state of flow? Well, first of all, flow occurs when you're connected to your core. So the prerequisite is connecting to your core. But the state, the situation that you find yourself in has several features to it. It's full immersion. You've experienced heightened awareness. Things become very clear. You're totally absorbed in what you're doing. The words are just coming to you. They're perfect. You feel like you're energized, but you're also relaxed. It's a very curious state. There's also a sense of joyful expansion. This also occurs when you're in any heightened state, if you were doing a sport or gardening or any activity where you are really in the state of flow, everything's functioning and you're on your game. And this is what we all love to be as writers. When we hit that flow, you know, we love it, and it's frustrating when we don't have it, right? Without really wanting to be boxed in. This feeling of I can't go anywhere, I'm constrained, is what we want freedom from. Instead, we want connection. We want flow, like the images of these folks here. So let's get a little deeper into what's the underlying process of how this works. Understanding this can really help us support ourselves to connect to the core. Everyday versus core consciousness. There is an everyday consciousness, your routine consciousness, how you wake up in the morning, you're making your breakfast, you're driving to work, where you're on automatic and you're in a scanning mode. You're scanning your environment all the time, you're taking in everything general, but you're on the superficial layer of your consciousness. You're not really focused. You're in short-term memory mode. And you're task-directed. You're aware of chronology, you're aware of times going from this to this, I'm doing this task. This is all at the superficial level of your mind, which is the biological level most of us function on because it keeps us safe. It keeps us alive. Your biology is always wanting to make sure you're safe, and it stays in this kind of semi-alert state, which is not a state of depth. So a state of depth is when you're focused and you're deep. You're expansive and you're not in time. And you're accepting information on a very different level. You're not in your usual resist mode where you just want to do A to B, and if something comes in the way, you don't like it, if it's traffic or it's pleasure and you like it, but you're not in that deeply receptive place. So what we want to do here is notice and consciously, deliberately work from the everyday consciousness to what I'm calling core consciousness. I don't have all the scientific backup, but there is quite a bit of evidence about how all this works. But I really believe that flow is not a luxury for a writer. You know, it's not just something you should hit it's not like, oh, I had this moment of inspiration or this flight or one really great day writing. I think that in order to have a great experience writing and to also create a high quality impact book, you need to have flow be part of your tool set, not just a luxury, not just something you have on the weekend one day when you're feeling really great. So, well, let's look at what happens when we sit down to write. We immediately start feeling a little bit of pressure. And this is even if you have your regular schedule. Oh, I have to write now. And there's that little pressure that comes in. And then sometimes also comes in uncertainty, like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to work on. Or what if I'm not sure? And there's a little anxiety. And then if you have any states, like if you happen to be tired or hungry or a high emotional state, you're not going to be able to connect to your core because you're agitated. And so this is not the time to try to work. If you're feeling any of those feelings, reschedule or consciously do something to fix it. Eat something, right? So the 5 keys to flow, these are the things we can consciously do to support ourselves to get into that state, to get into that expansive, connected state. And many writers do some of these. I encourage you to really consciously do all of these things. First is creating a ritual. which creates, basically you're trying to create an environment where you feel safe, protected, and where you can relax and you can drop out of scanning mode into focus mode, which means you need solitude and you need enough time. And if you're rushed and you don't have solitude, it's going to be challenging to get to that state. You also need to have a focus. It's really helpful to know, to plan and know beforehand what you want to work on. And, you know, whether, okay, today's an editing day. Today's, I'm going to start the new chapter. I'm going to work on the introduction. To kind of think about it a little bit and have a little plan so that you don't get yourself into a state where you're not sure what you're going to focus on. And you do have to choose a focus. And a lot of times, if you don't choose a focus, you feel anxious because you can't really put your attention. But there may be maybe you have 2 or 3 things that you want to focus on, but you don't know which one. And sometimes this is just a way of avoiding anything. We sometimes use that to trick ourselves. So the next thing really is to know and remind yourself that you can't command creativity. You know, you can't say, I'm going to, you know, it doesn't work to try to force, you know, you want to finish this chapter today, or you want to get this much written. If we bring a sense of force into it, there'll be resistance. So remember that you can't, it's not something, it's like a cat. It's like a cat under a bed. If you try to get the cat out, you start yelling at the cat, or you got to come out, like what does a cat do? It goes farther under the bed. And this is what our creative mind also does. So this process is trusting and then welcoming what comes. Trusting that you can connect to this deeper place and seeing what comes up. Even if you have a focus, some idea or something might come up that doesn't seem like it's fitting, but if you open to it and you look at it, it will lead you to where you need to go. What's usually going to happen, and this is even when we spend time, let's say you spend time paying attention and you're actually consciously trying to create a space for yourself in which you are cultivating your core consciousness. Fear is not going to go away. You're still going to have fear. And sometimes fear is going to come up because we're about to make an important connection. And there's you know, we all have our own versions. I have, you know, well, think about this too. You're working on something, you're doing something you've never done. Whatever you're working on, it's new, it's the unknown. So you can't help but have a little bit of fear. I don't know what yours are, but my favorite one that comes up is, I can't possibly do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. Other people have things like, I haven't done enough research, I'm not smart enough, you know, I need to take another writing course. They start struggling with decisions about not knowing what topic they want to focus on, what story they want to focus on. And sometimes we want to do everything, but we have to make a choice. And making choice A means we don't get to do choice B. And we don't like that. We resist that. The standard advice that we get, which is good advice, is right through your fear. Keep going. But I want to address something else when that doesn't work, because it doesn't always work. If you're exploring new territory, you might come into what I call the bedrock. And the bedrock fear is not just the common voices of doubt and inadequacy that we all have, like, I can't do it if I can't do this, the procrastination, put things off. This is something where we're moving into forbidden territory. What we're about to explore or speak or say is not allowed. We haven't been able to acknowledge it. It could be a family secret, it could be abuse, it could be some hurt or pain in our life that we have to tap into. But it's some area of taboo. It's taboo. And the wall comes up. and says, you can't enter this territory. And at some point in time, and there might be other reasons like it's going to be too painful, or someone's told you when you were young that you couldn't do it, and you believed that this was impenetrable wall. So when you hit what I call a bedrock fear, it's usually you're on the verge of having a real breakthrough. And the power of the resistance can seem insurmountable. And you got to handle this a little different. You can't actually write through bedrock. So I want to give you a process. I've worked with this process. I've worked with authors. I reached a point in my own book where I couldn't go on. And of course I had a lot of judgment about that. But there was some serious work I needed to do about this forbidden area. So here's the process that I've used and that I learned from my mentor and that I work with authors that are my clients. First of all, you've got to acknowledge that this feels like a wall. And you have to let yourself feel it a little bit. Because when that feeling of wall or block comes up, we really just want to escape. You want to go into your favorite escape pod, whatever that happens to be. And you got to make a phone call. Just look at your Facebook. I forgot to do this. You know, we want to escape. But this is where we have to allow ourselves some time to actually experience the edge of this. And you have to tell yourself, if it's really scary, your mind is going to want to just shoot you out of there. So you have to actually have to reassure yourself that you're safe. And you have to respect the denseness, the layers of defense that are coming up to protect you. Your mind is actually trying to protect you from something that it's perceiving as threatening or dangerous. So you have to work with that and tell yourself that you are safe, it is safe to feel it, and you are acknowledging it. And then the next level, which will allow you to make a shift. And meanwhile, all this is going on, it's not comfortable. And you're not feeling comfortable while you're doing this. There's no way. But now the next step is you're going to get some information about it because you need information. It could be clear to you what this wall is, but it may not be. And so, especially if it's a wall, it's covering something. So you're going to ask questions. And the inquiry process is part of that. And they're famous. This is what allows you to get information and move. And this process of asking questions is also essential. Part of it that you have to do is you have to give yourself permission to enter the forbidden territory. If you didn't have permission, you have to change that. And you're the one who's going to change that. You're the one who's going to empower yourself by saying, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm going to get some information, I'm going to give myself permission to acknowledge this, feel it a little bit, and find out what is going on. And one of the exercises, and this is moving through it, but this is not just trying to write through it. So one of the two really useful exercises right here at this point, you get out a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, you write at the top, what I am afraid of is. And you just make a list. You just let come out whatever wants to come out. And if something triggers you, if something starts to take you, then you go with it. If all of a sudden you start writing and you're connecting, you just write, you write and write until you're spent. You take that paper, you put it aside. And you take another piece of paper. And at the top of that you write, what I am confused about is. Confusion and fear go together. You do the same process. You write a list. If you make a connection with at any point in the writing, you let yourself keep writing. If you just have a list and it doesn't seem like it means anything, that doesn't matter. You're doing the work. This inquiry method was made famous by Socrates and perfected, really, the modern day master of this inquiry method is Byron Katie. You might know her work. Some of you might be familiar with her work. She basically looks at, she has people put down statements of their situations and then ask the question, is it true? Can I know that it's absolutely true? As a way of dropping in and connecting with the deeper truth. One of the images that really helps me when I'm working on this process or I'm working with somebody is to imagine that you've got a pebble and you're kind of throwing it out there and it's going to make a ripple. And your question is like the pebble and the ripple is what you get back. Sometimes there's not much of a ripple. You can't feel it or you can't see it, but it's working you. This is a trust process. It's working you. Every book has its own unique path for coming into being. And this book is coming out of your center. It's coming out of your being, and it's going to have its own unique journey. The book manifesto that I teach and have developed comes directly out of this inquiry process, this practicing this inquiry method with myself and other authors. And I've been teaching it and sharing it for quite a while. And today, I'm really happy to be able to share it as an online course, which is a dream of mine, to be able to make it possible for people to access this process easily and affordably. And really, I've condensed all of my experience of the last 7 years into this process, into these 7 modules, which move you through the manifesto, which is a process of creating a foundation and building a framework that defines your book, that makes your book uniquely yours. Writing a book is like taking a trip down a river. When you get in the middle, the current will take you. And getting in the middle, finding that current, is about connecting with your core and using the inquiry method, using the book manifesto method to define and unearth, literally, what you're really about, getting in touch on the subconscious and unconscious level. Another metaphor I like to use that's helpful, it also connects with water. Water is a great symbol for so many things. Imagine that you're priming a pump. In the old days, they had to get the water out of the earth, right? You're priming a pump. Well, you're up and down, nothing's happening. And then if you have to keep going. You have to trust that it's going to come up. And then you get a dribble, and then you start getting a stream. And if you keep going, you're getting a flow. But that priming of the pump has to happen, and it requires some patience for us to connect, move past our blocks, and connect with our passion, our vision, our purpose. So if you'd like, you might want to go on this website right now. I'm going to kind of run through and point out a few things. It's bookmanifestocourse.com. Michelle, do you want to share that URL in the chat box with people?
Yes, I just sent it out.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so some of this you can read on your own. We've already covered, but I wanted to go back to my favorite troll guy. This is an interesting phenomenon that I found in working with authors and myself, which is the more passionate, the more important your book is to you, the stronger the critical voices are that emerge to try to bar your way. The uglier, the bigger the troll that comes up to say, you can't cross this bridge. And so respect that, and understanding that can help you reverse the self-blame or judgment, like, oh, the feeling that we get of inadequacy. To understand that it's because it's so important to us that there's part of us blocking us. When you create your book manifesto, you're basically freeing yourself to write with authenticity and power. And besides being And I'm going to go through the modules in a moment. But I want to bring up a couple of other things that come along with connecting to your core, which are when you write a book from vision and from passion and from clarity, you're basically delivering the kind of book to the market that the market's looking for. That's what agents are looking for. That's what publishers are interested in. That's a book manifesto is a great foundation. If you are interested in working with an agent or developing a book proposal, a book manifesto is basically your foundation for that. It's also going to help you define your author brand, because essentially your author brand is your vision. It's what makes your book unique. And when you're pulling the book from the depth of who you are, that's where the stamp of uniqueness comes. If you're not connecting deep enough, you're just basically reproducing what's already out there without any uniqueness. So from a market point of view, and also from your own creative point of view, and from a successful point of view, the book manifesto will help you do that. So what is it? What is a book manifesto? It's basically a document that you create. It's not long. It's 3 or 4 pages long, and it's going to contain 7 key statements that cover the 7 key elements. And basically, it's like your DNA. It's architecting your DNA of your book. It's going to first give you a map so that you know where you're going and why you're going there. So now you're empowered to create it. Secondly, it's going to give you a brand to bring into the marketplace. You'll be knowing what it is, what your unique vision is. And third, it's a process of discovery. You use it as a way to enter your own source story. You use it as a way to connect deeply with what you're about. And taken together, it empowers you. And you can actually do this process in 30 days. And that's really good for writers, because we know what the time and the labor it takes to create a book. And if you can actually engage yourself in a process where you're doing some basic architecting of what you want to do, it will save you months. It can save you years of work. So along with the 7 modules in this course, again, I created this course so you could access it and you would get enough support, but you would get contained program that could support you to do this in 30 days. So along with the 7 modules, there is a Facebook group where you can get peer support, and you can also ask questions and get my comments. You will get a written editorial review of your book manifesto when it's completed. And if you opt for a level 2 program, you can also get an hour of private coaching. You will also get all of the future updates. So let's just take a quick look through the modules. There are 7 modules. Passion is your why. And some examples of passion, it's like what drives you. It's inherent. What is the drive underneath why you keep showing up to do your book? And why does your book never go away? It just keeps coming up. Even when you try to stop writing it, if it's really a book that you have to create, you really can't get rid of it until you write it. This is just the way it is. So it's the passion underneath that's driving you. And so to identify what that passion is and align yourself with it is your first job. And even though in the end, and the module has exercises and gives examples to help you do that, even have a sentence at the end of it or a statement, that statement represents a lot of work. The more essential it is, the harder it is to get to. My passion, well, let's just say, yeah, my passion is to create and to help others create. And when I finally located that word create, it was much more valuable to me than the word write. Yes, my passion is to write, but my passion is really to create, and I'm using words to create. And so that statement has never left me. and is always true for me. Vision. Now vision is what gets birthed out of your passion. Vision is what's the core truth of your book? What's the core insight? What's the core perspective? And a clear vision, I'll give you some examples here. Maxine, one of the authors I've worked with, developed a vision, and she worked in, she had a pretty close vision, but it wasn't quite right. So the first stage that she hit was she's writing a book about how to help women deal with trauma. So the first sentence was, traumatized people can reconnect with their hidden strengths and their ability to live the life they want. So that's a core truth. Well, she took it a little farther. I encouraged her to go a little farther with it. And this is what she came up with. In spite of trauma, abuse, or suppression of its faculties, the soul is never damaged. So this is something more essential, that there's a part that's not damageable. And that's her core truth. And her whole book comes out of that core truth. And when she recognized it as her vision, her writing completely changed. The stories that she was telling, her own process completely changed. It's the power of a vision. For memoir, well, hers was kind of a combination of memoir, hybrid memoir, and self-help. For memoir, it might simply be a very short vision could be integrity trumps love. Happiness comes from following your dreams, no matter how crazy they are. So it's like, what's the key? And you may know, what your vision is, but you may not be in touch consciously with it. And this process can allow you to do that. So the third pillar, and these first three, passion, vision, and purpose, I envision that as the foundation. That's what's under the ground. That's what's going to hold your building up. That's where you're going to put your framework on top of. So purpose is about who you're going to serve. Purpose is like, it's very much like turning your vision inside out. I'm going to take a drink of water here. Purpose focuses now on the impact you want to make with that vision. But first you have to have the vision. It's the problem you solve, it's the human dilemma you're exploring. And it's also about what is the impact that you want to make. And if you can have a great vision, but if you fail in purpose, if you're not clear, your book isn't going to connect with your audience. So this is the challenging point for many of us. Now I have to be able to take this message or this story and connect with my audience. And focusing on purpose can help you do that. So now the last three modules, 4, 5, and 6, are about structure. They're about the pieces that now that you know your vision, you go and you try to create a summary statement, which is, in a way, it's kind of like a book description. It won't be your final book description, but it's like, okay, what's the scope? You know, what's this? If I'm writing a memoir, what is this? What is the chronological period I'm writing, and what am I focused on? Making these kind of decisions. If I'm writing a self-help book, what's the content? You know, what's the big benefit? What are the 3 things that people are going to learn when they finish this book? The takeaways. So you're specifically trying to organize the tangible benefits and the content that your reader is going to engage in. When you're looking at title, your title is your promise. And publishers believe that 80% of your book is title in terms of sales. That's how they look at it. So your title, sometimes people start with title, but I think that you really should, title comes lower on the totem pole, because if you have a very clear summary and you know your content, you know your purpose, who you want to affect, your vision, why you're doing this, then the title will flow out of that. The title will be your promise. What are you promising? And I use 7 archetypes to help people define what is the need. There's a book right now by Elizabeth Gilbert called Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. She wrote, as you all know, Eat, Pray, Love. Eat, Pray, Love. So Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. You know just what that's about. It's about the creative process and getting beyond fear. By the way, it's a great book. And it's kind of a combination memoir and self-help. So that's clarity. There's another book by Anne O'Neill, If You Want the Rainbow, Welcome the Rain. 2 other memoirs that I recommend are The Art of Memoir by Mary Karr and Wild by Cheryl Strayed. So all of these titles are distilling, give you a promise, and tell you what to expect. And that's what your title has to do. The structure now is how you organize all this. And this is really the sticking point for writers and authors. It's a bugaboo. It's like, I got all this stuff. It's great. And I know I've got the right content. It's working. But I really don't know how to fit it together. So this is the point where you kind of set that down and you back up a little bit. You do a little book manifesto process to get clear so that you can decide what your structure should be. So some of the issues of structure have to do with, if you're writing a memoir, you have to decide, is this a thematic memoir focused on a theme, or is it chronological? Am I going to pick a time frame, maybe just my childhood or my college career? So you make these decisions based on your purpose, based on your content, helps you figure out how should it be organized. How many sections? Do you have 2 sections, 3 sections, subsections? Are you going to have a do-it-yourself part? And so this process of thinking through and actually planning out your structure. And you can do this if you're just getting started, or if you've gotten a lot written and you realize you really don't know how this is going to, what kind of structure is going to be best for the reader. Because this is a reader issue. This structure is what's going to connect with your reader. And the last module is the author bio. So I ask authors, whether they've been published or not, writers, to write an author bio. Some people identify as an author right away. Many people don't. Like, I'm not an author, I haven't written a book. So you write your bio. You ask some questions, and it's kind of like you visualize you are an author, you claim being an author. By writing your bio, it shifts you. So now you've got a framework. You've got a foundation. And this is actively is what also is going here. Because you're still going to be nervous and we're still going to have anxiety, but when you come to your book with this substantial process and structure, you feel pretty damn confident. And if you forget, what the hell am I doing today, you can go back and look. What's my vision? And then you can also question it, but you have a baseline to start from. You can say, well, I define my vision as this. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's slightly different. But you've got a plan. The plan can change. It will shift. But once you've established it and you've done the work at the subconscious level, you have a wonderful departure point or a continuation point. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the pricing and how this course is available. I think I can just click on this and it will take me, ta-da, to the pricing. All right, so there's 2 levels to this course. It's a self-guided course. Level 1 is the 7-module program. It has a Facebook group support. It comes with a written editorial review of your book manifesto when you complete it in 30 days, and it includes future updates. Level 2 has all those same features, and it has a 1 hour of private coaching added to it. Now this is my launch price. This is my launch today, and this is my launch price. But I'm celebrating. Let's see here. And I'm going to offer a webinar pricing just for that ends at that's over at the end of this training session of $40 off. And the program is live now, and I encourage you to take the step and sign up. I invite you to engage and really make a shift with your book in 30 days. This program is designed primarily for nonfiction writers. This is designed for people who are telling their story in memoir or self-help or any other nonfiction. Next month will be the fiction version. So I'd like to invite any questions that people have to ask me about the program, and I just want to say that this really is a goal for me that I've reached, and it makes me really happy to be able to provide something that's easy and affordable for writers so they can tap in to the power of the book manifesto process.
Okay, Sally, well, I've just sent out the 2 coupon codes, so everyone should have those.
All right. Great.
All right, and we do have a few questions coming in. Kimberly asks, what about your title changing as you move through writing your book?
Okay, well, it will change, but I think initially, if you do the foundation, and part of this exercise is that you create 10 titles, and you're using the basis of, you're basing that on your content and your purpose. So you're not just pulling a title out of nowhere. So the title work that you've done, you might wordsmith it different. But as you write your book, you have to be open to changes. But at least you have a baseline where you've put a thoughtful process in. So each one of these, so that particular exercise is still really valuable for you. And it's going to make the end product work a lot better.
And she follows, I'm sorry, she follows that up with a, do you worry about it being catchy and marketable?
Yes, you don't worry about it, but it needs to be memorable. And the exercise takes you through it. It needs to make a promise. It needs to be memorable and catchy. It can't be awkward or heavy. It has to kind of roll off your tongue. And then it also has to broadcast the benefit and talk to your reader, your target reader. It has to do a lot of work.
Okay, we have a question. How do we find out about the fiction version?
Okay, well, I'm going to be announcing the fiction version next month. My next webinar is going to come out. I did not, given the process it was to create this, I'm coming out with a nonfiction. I had more people asking me for the nonfiction, so I decided to do that. But it will be available next month. And I wish I had them both for you now, but this is how the work gets done. And it will focus on the fiction one will focus on plot points and structure that is specific to fiction, because it's quite different than nonfiction, and so you can't really. Some of the process is very much the same. The foundation is the same, but the pieces that are on top of the foundation, the framework, is different, and it needs a special treatment.
Jennifer follows up with, what if I want to do both, and another one, will we automatically get emails about it, and will there be a webinar for the fiction? 3 different people, 3 different questions about the same thing.
Okay, so yes, there will be a webinar. Yes, you will get emails. And yes, you could do both. And if you want to do Doing both, you mean doing both courses? Is that what you mean?
I'll wait till she responds. That was Jennifer.
So,
yes.
yes.
She says yes.
Okay, so yes, Jennifer. Once this is out, if somebody wants to do both, then I'll create an option for that so that you can do that economically. That's a good idea. But you're not going to do both at the same time because probably you're working on nonfiction or you're working on fiction. But if you end up needing both, I would definitely work with you on that.
Okay, what kind of support do I get with the Facebook group?
Okay, the Facebook group is basically gives you, I will go, if there's a link that you go onto the Book Manifesto Facebook group, and I will be going there once or twice a day to respond to people's questions and make comments. And I invite people to post questions. They got a vision statement, they don't know, is this a vision statement? Put it up there. Let people see it, ask for that, and I will give you feedback. And also, it's wonderful because we write alone, and it's nice to share and see what other people are working on. And it's also nice to respond to see what your peers are working on and have a chance to respond to their questions. But I will definitely be in a very highly interactive state with that, and you will get my direct support on the Facebook group.
All right. Question, what does the editorial review consist of?
Okay, so you've done you created your book manifesto, and at the end, in the last module, you're going to get a prompt to send it. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to do it. Basically, you're going to get, I will review it, I will make comments, I will ask questions if things aren't clear. I'll also make some recommendations that will help you to improve it or ask some, solve some problems if you don't understand what's going on. And it will be up to 300 to 400 words of my commentary along with what edits or recommendations I think would help you so that you can take your next step. I think that's important. And this is a way for you to do it economically. Some people may not be ready to work at the manuscript level. Most of the clients I work with, I'm at the manuscript level. And so this is a real good way to get my feedback without diving into, a 6-month program, which is one of the big reasons I put it together.
Okay, the next question is, what does the coaching session focus on in level 2?
Okay, so it will basically it'll be after you've had a chance to review my editorial review, so you'll see my comments. It'll give you a chance to explore, for both of us to explore in depth the questions and the issues that you've got. So you can go into a discussion about if you're not sure your next step, or you're struggling with your vision, or we get a chance to discuss that, and I can make some more deeper recommendations because we're in a conversation and you've already finished a process. So it's really useful to add that 1 hour can give you support to go to the next level. So I recommend people sign up for that level if they're not sure.
Okay, here's a question. A lot of books and articles I read tell writers just to get the first draft done without worrying about stuff like vision or purpose. Is that a bad idea?
Well, yeah, it's true. That's right. And in a way, that kind of contradicts the whole book manifesto process. But really, I don't think it's a good way to go. I think it's a way to be frustrated and have much more time to get your book done. And if you start out with some clarity, and remember, at any point, you can use this process, whether you're stuck, you're in the middle, you're in the beginning, even if you have a whole manuscript. But if you just write, you certainly can write a book and then go back and start over. And people do that. But I really like to see writers love themselves and get clarity as soon as possible and not waste their time. The time is precious. And why not also enjoy the process? If you have clarity, you will go to your writing sessions with enthusiasm. You will connect better with your core, and you will be on the river, and you'll be going down the river. And why shouldn't you? I think it's important to set that as a goal.
Okay, Sally, we have a question from Angela. Do you provide a book manifesto sample to use as a guideline?
Well, I do not provide an independent sample because I think it's important for you to do your own process. However, in each module has the questions and the exercises are followed by sample statements so that you can see what other people have done and what works. And that really helps a lot. But sometimes you have to wrestle with it. And I'm hoping that, you know, also if you use the Facebook page and if you get stuck and you can ask a question, that often speaks better to your process. But examples are important, and I do give a lot of examples. And I know that helps people.
Okay, this is the last question we have in there so far. So you guys be thinking of your questions if you want to ask any more. Okay, Janet asks, how much time will it take to create my manifesto and how long is it supposed to be?
Okay, well, ideally, the process should be like 3 weeks to 30 days. You've got 7 modules, and if you spend 3 or 4 days on each module, you'll be done easily in 30 days. And I recommend, you know, some people say, well, can we go, you know, can I do it longer? And I've worked with authors who kind of stretch it out. But it really makes a difference if you have too much time between modules, you kind of lose traction. So it's important to space it kind of close. You're going to have a more concentrated process. So as to length, remember, most of your final statements are going to be short. Well, it might be vision statement, a couple sentences. Passion statement, 1 sentence. Your summary is going to be a paragraph. You probably will have 1, maybe 2 paragraphs, but with your structure. So you're going to have a few pages. It's not long, but these pages is your DNA. These pages are your architecture of your book, and so they're the condensed version of your book. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, let's see. Jennifer can't find the link to enroll. Isn't it just down at the bottom of the page? Maybe you want to...
Okay, yeah, so let's go over... Oh, sure. Let's go over to the page. If you see sign up, right here, sign up. You just click on this. If we click on this, I just clicked on it. It's going to take you to membership levels. So you're going to select which membership level, and then it will ask you to put in the discount code because you're going to be paying the special webinar price, which is $40 off, right? So you'll put in you'll go to, well, we could even go there, but no, I don't think I'll do that right now. But you'll go in and you'll fill it in and you'll paste the discount code.
Right. So and that's just to the end of this webinar, right?
Yeah. This is special pricing for the folks who are here because this is because I'm celebrating basically the launch, which is today, and I want to make it accessible. And so for the people who are here at this webinar right now, until the end of the webinar, this pricing will hold. You will get the $40 off of each level.
Okay, I'm going to paste it in again because she forgot the discount code, and some people may have come in late.
Okay, so you can see.
I'm sending it out one more time.
So
okay.
Oh, great! Thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you. And you can see the codes here under each price.
Yeah, I accidentally put it in twice in a row, so you'll see level 1, level 2, and then level 1, level 2. They're both the same. They're both times I pasted it in. All right, so we have one last question here from Tricia. She wonders how long she can have access to the Facebook group.
Good question. The Facebook group is going to be a 3-month access.
Okay then.
So it's 90 days. And I should say that might change, but if it does change, it would be more, it would be, you know, I would lengthen it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be at least 90 days. Yeah.
Okay, that was the last one that came in. I don't see any more questions, so all right then, Sally.
Okay. All right, well, great talking with you guys today, and I encourage you and invite you to do your book manifesto and empower your book in 30 days. Use this process to take your book to the next level. Thank you very much.